And we are live. We are live. Sorry for the delay. Come on in. Come on in. We are live with Baba Mfundishi tonight. Come on in. Come on in. Tonight, we are going to have a conversation that a lot of people have asked for. You know, sometimes people want to know what they're supposed to do. How am I supposed to pray? When do I pray? What do I say? How do I connect with the ancestors? All of that. And when we're working with, or, we have this spiritual practice that's so ancient, and we have all of the greats, one of whom is on tonight, that work to try to piece together parts of it. How can we practice something that is this ancient and also at some level kind of still in the works in terms of discovering different components to it? Well, tonight, what we're going to discuss is how we can take this ancient practice and make it very practical and functional. Okay. And there will definitely be some adjustments because we're living in a different day and age that has different needs for our people. And one example that I like to use living in New York City and being from Connecticut and basically living in the Northeast is our ancient ancestors didn't wear Timberlands and big puffy coats with little heat warmers and our mittens and gloves, right? So we've made adjustments. It doesn't mean that we're out of ma'at. It doesn't mean that we're doing something that is wrong. It means that we're doing something that is practical and what is needed in today's time for us, for you, for the whole community, right? So, without further ado, a lot of us know who Baba Mfundishi is. And Baba Mfundishi, welcome to Tuesday Talk. It's
Dua.
always a pleasure to have you here.
Yes. Ankh Uja Seneb Neb. Dua Ntr.
Uncle Seneb, Seneb, especially during this time, this time of the year.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here and to
Thank
share.
you. Thank you.
Mhm.
hmm So, one of the positive things or benefits of living in New York City is that you can walk down 125th and you can see Baba Mfundishi. And he is a part of the African vendors and that space that still has the old Harlem feel, and you're able to actually see some of the items
He
that you need to be able to practice
is
this ancient
a part
spirituality. So, Baba, can you tell us
of
a little bit about what it is you do on
the
125th,
African
what you have, what you sell, and how we can use some of those as tools to access,
and,
our practice?
Surely. I appreciate the question. Well,
Hmm.
first of
that you
all,
need
when I'm on
to
125th Street, I look at
this
it as
ancient
my
way.
street ministry.
A little bit
I'm
about what
a
it
Kemetic spiritual priest,
is you do,
and that's kind of like my spiritual ministry. The idea is to uplift the energy of Harlem, to keep the
our
vibration high, and to keep the culture. I'm a believer that culture is your medicine. The closer and the more endraped you are in your culture, the more sound you will be, the healthier you will become, and the more you'll be in tune with nature. And you'll be able to live out your life's purpose because you'll be in alignment with the ancestors, alignment with the spirit, alignment with your own history. So culture is your medicine. And so on 125th Street, I try to provide some of our culture there. So I have gemstones and crystals. Crystals represent energy, it's a vibration. So I teach people about colorography or colorology. The idea is that each color represents a vibration of energy. And so certain colors make you happy, other colors subdue you a little bit, bring you calm. Some colors energize you. And so we try to teach this energy. The crystals fall into that paradigm. So we have the black crystals that are grounding, protective, and they're helping you mentally, physically, and spiritually, protecting you against EMF like shungite, the EMF waves from your computers and the cell phone towers and all of that. So you need crystals to help you combat this modern age. So the modern age, in the name of technology, is destroying you somewhat. It's making you more irritable. It puts you in a stressful state, the modern world. So you need certain crystals that help you de-stress, calm down. We give you some rose quartz, some cherry quartz, like that. Clear quartz helps calm you down and keep you focused. The clear quartz keeps you focused, laser. Okay, so you're not distracted. We're living in a world where we're overstimulated and we're bombarded. If you're on 125th Street, there's something called noise pollution. The sirens is going. I mean, the fire department, and then it's the ambulance, then it's the police cars, and then just people honking their horns. Everybody's impatient, so it creates this noise pollution, which creates stress. Okay, so the crystals on this hand, we have crystals that, like if we come down our Shechem Shin Ra, which people call chakras, but the Kemetic word is Shechem Shin Ra, is that I'll help you focus just a little bit. So we start out in blackness. Everything starts out black. Black is the essence of all colors, is the essence of existence. That light comes from the darkness. Okay. So black is majesty. So we come from a state of majesty, and then we move up to the light, and we have the clear quartz crystal that helps us with clarity and focus and thought. And that's your universal crystal. So if you don't have any other crystal, you should be rocking with a clear quartz crystal so that you can be clear on what you're supposed to be doing. You can't define your children's destiny. You can't define your mate's destiny. The only destiny that you got control of is yours.
That's
and
right.
You need to be, watch this phrase, crystal clear. Right? Okay. Yeah, that's where it comes from. Oh boy, that's crystal clear. All right. So you start up with that. Then you move to your purple. That's the highest octave here. Your purple is your spiritual. So today I'm rocking some purple and mauve colors. Okay. That's your high octave. That's your spiritual connection. Okay. So when we're teaching the 5 domains, the first domain is spirit domain. So the color that's going to help you tap into that is purple. So you can come and you get purple stones. So like amethyst, lepidolite. You get those stones like that. That's going to raise your vibration in terms of your spiritual. That's your pituitary gland. That's your master gland. That connects with all organs in the body. Then you come to your pineal gland. And that's going to be a lapis lazuli, the dark blue, indigo blue, the very dark blue. That's the wisdom stone. In fact, that color is called royal blue. And it's called royal blue because the royalty in Africa wore that color. And everybody around the world knows it's royal blue, but they don't know why. So that's symbolic thought. Symptomatic thought is now I know why it's like that. It's like that because that was the most used stone among the ancient Kemet. And the royalty, the Nasut Biti, the Kemet Nasut Weret, okay? They wore the royal blue, okay? And that was active of your pineal gland. And your pineal gland is the only gland that connects you to the universe. So your pituitary gland is just for your body. The pineal gland connects you to everything in existence. So I can feel you. I can feel your thoughts. I can feel nature. I'm in tune with the animals. I'm in tune with the minerals. I'm in tune with the plants. I'm in tune with other human beings. That's your pineal gland. It's also the wisdom stone. So I tell people if they're studying, they're trying to memorize things, they're trying to tap, trying to expand their knowledge base, they want to hold a piece of lapis lazuli, the dark blue stone. Okay. Then from there, you move to your communication, and that's the light blue. So you could use sodalite. You could also use turquoise. You know, so there's several other colors here. Angelite. There's angelite is a soft blue. So all of these operate with your communications. You know, sometimes you can think stuff, but you have problems explaining what you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you rub on your blue stones. Okay, your light blue stones. You have a piece of soda light or a piece of turquoise. Turquoise also connects you to your ancestors. So it's one of the most used stones by indigenous people on the whole planet Earth. So whether it was Native Americans here, whether it was Africans on the continent, whether you were in Australia, turquoise was the choice of the indigenous people, because not only did it help you with communication, it helped you connect with your ancestors, because your ancestors are constantly downloading information to you. But because most people don't meditate, they don't get the message. They didn't get the memo. They missed the memo because you got to go into meditate. See, when you meditate, you're listening to the creator and the ancestors. When you pray externally, you're talking to the ancestors and the creator. Okay. So you got to have both of them. You need a half an hour at least each day where you can tap in to your ancestral memory so that you can tap into the spirit and listen, you know. So that's the blue. Then we move to the heart, and that's the pink stone. So we have two. The heart is green and pink. The green is the healing aspect of it, like chlorophyll to plants. Okay. So chlorophyll is green to plants, like carbon is black to human beings. So carbon is the foundation of the mineral domain. Chlorophyll is the foundation of the plant domain, and melanin is the foundation of the animal domain. We are in the animal domain. All animals, in order to function at its highest level, need melanin. All plants, in order to synthesize fuel from the sun, needs chlorophyll, and then carbon in the mineral domain. So when I teach those 5 domains, spirit first, then mineral second, then we go to the plants, then we go to the animals. So that's the melanin. Okay. So all of those are elements that are in the universe that we need, and it's part of our body. Then we go from green to the pink. Pink is symbolic of love, calm, and de-stressing. Okay. So we're living in a very stressful society, and we don't handle stress good. And let me say this. Anybody of African descent who has melanin, if they live above Florida, they have a vitamin D deficiency. If you have a vitamin D deficiency, that means you don't handle stress well. That means your immune system is compromised. So the vitamin D helps you with your immune system. It helps you combat stress. It helps, level you out. And so that's why it's important for people who live in this hemisphere, like the New York, the Northeast here. You need to be outside 5 hours a day of sunlight in order to get the amount of vitamin D you need to keep the body at an optimum pace. That's why I'm also outside. Not only am I getting my street ministry on, I'm getting my vitamin D. Okay. So I'm going to be 90 years old, looking like I am now, de-stressed and ready to go. All right, because I'm getting my dose of melanin every day from the sun. And let me say, if you're getting vitamin D from the drugstore, that's what you're getting, drugs. All you're going to have is some expensive pee that's coming right out. It's not going into your skin. The only way you can get this, not even the lamps. You know, they got the lamps to give you the suntan, but you just faking your skin out. You're not getting the rays of Ra. You're not
that
getting
sounds scary. That sounds scary. The sun lamps, all that nonsense.
Yes. So now we move from the heart to the solar plexus. That's going to be your yellow and gold stones, like citrine, yellow jasper. Then you move to tiger's eye, golden tiger's eye, amber. Those are operating on your solar plexus. That's energy, vitality directly from the sun. Okay. And that's going to help energize you. and help you stay in tune, help you stay vibrant. Then we move to the orange stones. So you go from the gold to the orange stones, and that's your sacral. That's your sacral. That's your midsection. That's your intuition. That's also your immune system, your digestive system. So this is your feminine energy coming right there. Your sacral, right in the middle. That's your seat of power. And so women, it's really important for you to have that. And everybody, your intuition. So if you're eating Kentucky Fried Chicken or some meats of any kind almost, you're actually diluting your immune system. You're weakening it because now all your energy is trying to digest this poison that you've just entered into your body. And it can't even use all of that. And I know most of you think that's your source of protein, but where's this animal getting this protein from? The vegetables. Okay. And so that's the highest form of protein by getting it from the vegetable domain, the vegetable plant kingdom. So you want a plant-based protein as opposed to animal-based. Animal-based protein is second-hand protein. Okay, so I just people, because I know in America now, in the Western world, there's this big kick on, am I getting enough protein? I can't be a vegetarian. I'm not getting enough protein. No, that's the source of where the protein is coming from. You can get it from nuts, legumes, plants, vegetables, okay, and fruits, okay, or all of them there. So that's very important. Then from the sacral, from the orange, we go to red and back to black. That's your root chakra. Okay, so that's really important. I kind of wear them so if people can see.
Sorry.
That's all right. If people can see my wrists, this is my giving hand. I start out with onyx, then I go to red tiger's eye, then I go to carnelian, that's your sacral, then I go to the solar, which is the tiger's eye, and the citrine. Then I go to the heart, right, which is the rose quartz. Then I come over to my receiving hand from the Netzer, and I go back to black again. Start the black, then I go and I have smoky quartz, and then I have amethyst, the purple, and then I go to lapis lazuli. Okay, so I have my receiving, and then I have my giving hands. I know you've been taught in the Western world that there's only 7 chakras. You have hundreds of chakras, but Africans have 12 major chakras as opposed to the 7. And so the Western world, you see, most of the Europeans only have 5 real active chakra centers open. So 7 is an upgrade for them. Most Asiatics have 7. So that's right on level for them. So most Asiatics operate with 7. Most Europeans have 5. So 7 is an upgrade. That's keeping them high. That's good. But if you have 12 major ones, 7 is a downgrade for you. That's to make sure that you're controllable. They don't want you levitating off the ground, shooting beam lights out of your eyes. You know, they don't want you being able to hear everybody and send messages without your cell phone. They can't have you on that type of a level. So they need to dumb you down to the 7 so that you can be manageable in the society. So I just need you to know that. It's just like you see what we do in sports. Well, what you do in sports, in order for the body to do that, the mind has to think it first.
Period.
So when they say you're superior athletically, technically they're telling you you're superior mentally. Because everything the body does has to be computed here. So when you see the moves on the court by the basketball players, when you see the football players shaking off everybody, when you see all of this type of athletic skills, you see the black women gymnasts, unbelievable. You know, when you see all of this, all of that's mental first.
Sure is.
They're afraid that you'll do in the computer lab what you do on the basketball court. They're afraid you'll do in the technical laboratory what you do on the football field. And so the idea is to make sure you don't even tap into this. Okay. So we sell the crystals, and I sell them in different forms. You can get the natural stone, uncut, unpolished. I have the polished ones. And a lot of times when you want to rub your stones and do meditation, you want to polish one so you don't scratch your hands up and stuff like that. I know sometimes the women even put the crystals in their bra. So you want a nice polished, smooth one. You don't want a nice rough one, you know, to put in. I have stones in terms of towers, like a Tekken. And I have stones that are circular, the spear. And I have stones that are in the pyramid. So my daughter's teaching a crystal class that'll be the middle part of this month at our temple, and she'll be going over the power of the different shapes of crystal. So the crystal has energy automatically, but if I have a crystal that's in the form of a pyramid, that creates negative ions that energize the whole room. So now if my negative ions are being charged with rose quartz, I'm sending love throughout the whole room. Okay, if I have a pyramid that's amethyst, I'm sending high spiritual vibrations. If I have a pyramid that's made out of onyx, black tourmaline, or shungite, I'm sending out negative ions that's protecting the energy in the whole room, keeping negative forces out. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you. So the circular stones are for energy work, developing internal power of my body. I'm, creating these circular energies within my body. Spiral. The whole universe is operating in a spiral. The golden means is a spiral. Okay. All right. So that's the circulatory energy, circular energy. And then we have other tools. So inside of the rings, if you'll see my hand here, it's not quite looking like Baba Haru Samaj, but it's probably the second,
right?
The second best thing to Brother Samaj. So if you see here, I have the Cornelia stones inside of the design in my ring. So I have copper and silver in these rings. So that's my pointing finger. So I'm charging up with the power. Then I have my black onyx, again, a protection stone. And then I have lapis lazuli, my wisdom stone. So those are stones that I have on here. And I wear them on my left hand because that's my receiving hand. Okay. And if somebody act up, that's my hooking hand. Okay.
I know that's right.
Sometimes a person need their chakras realigned. Okay. So we call it Sa, spiritual protection.
That's right.
Not jewelry. I don't sell any jewelry on my table. I have Sa. Everything has to have a purpose and a meaning, whether the shape, whether the particular type of metal, or the particular type of stone. So everything is here to enhance who you are. So, you're only wearing Sa, spiritual protection, a protection that will enhance and protect your mental, physically, and spiritually. So all my Sa is like that. I have Sa in terms of rings, Sa in terms of bracelets, Sa in terms of necklaces. So all the crystals we offer in necklaces, as well as bracelet, or just a natural stone to put in your pocket, to rub, a palm stone, or to place around your house. I usually always have a couple of stones around. If you can see, here's a pyramid made out of garnet.
Can you hold it up a little higher?
This is a pyramid.
There we go.
That's garnet, yes. Right?
Yes.
And garnet is operating as the root chakra, and garnet is helping you with your passions. So if you're a Capricorn, if you're Aquarius or Sagittarius, this is like an excellent stone for you. It's going to help you with your passion, your energy. I know some of y'all are saying, Mfundishi, you don't need any more energy. Okay, but everybody can handle that. Okay. Then you have your this is one of my most popular type of stones that are in the form of a heart. This happened to be jasper. This is picture jasper, one of the most common stones, but it's very beautiful. It'll just take your breath away, the different shapes and colors of the jasper stone. Okay. Really pretty dynamic. Okay. And there's over 47 different types of jasper. So you can get jasper in almost every color, from green to blue to gray to orange, and all the different shades of brown. And sometimes it can be mixed in like marble, but jasper. Now this shape, the heart shape, is one of my most popular selling stones. And it's because you've been programmed by the matrix that shape is the heart. To it, technically, that shape really has nothing to do with your heart. Okay, but we've been programmed. That's called symbology. Okay, just the program of symbols. So, but let me just say this: if it makes you feel good, then it's helpful. If you feel good walking around with a heart crystal, then it's going to do you some good. So I just want to say that because you are how you thinketh.
That's a fact.
So if you think the heart is dynamic, then the heart becomes dynamic because you've programmed it to be dynamic. Here's another form of jasper. Wow. So you can see jasper can color.
Can you put that up closer to the camera? Yes. And then slowly turn that. That's beautiful, Mfundishi.
Yeah.
See it on the back. Oh, wow. Oh, that is, oh my goodness. That's beautiful.
So I keep these stones all around me. Naturally, I have some clear quartz crystal right there because remember, we need clarity of focus and thought. That's your universal crystal. I talked about the light blue. This is selenite. This is a selenite crystal. I don't know if you can get that color. Can you see the light blue in there?
You can, yeah.
Yeah. So this is selenite from Madagascar, another form of Africa. Most of my stones are from Africa or from South America, like Brazil.
Okay.
Oh, that's it. So we have all the different shapes. So that's part. Now we also sell the sage. We have white sage. We have Palo Santo. You know, so we have, and you burn this in your house. Now, some people think, oh, Mfundishi, that's hocus pocus. No, scientifically, they have measured the air and the particles in the air and the negative particles in the air. After they burn the sage, almost 95% of all the negative particles were erased or evaporated. So we tell you, when you burn in the sage, have a window crack so that negative energy can escape. Okay.
So Mfundishi. So one of the things that, so this is a good little breaking point right here. The crystals. So Mfundishi, do you still teach your crystal class, or is it just your daughter teaching it now?
Well, my daughter teaches it now.
Okay.
So I just kind of like I've sat in on her, and she's as good as I am. In some cases, maybe better.
Okay.
She's great. So she teaches that class now. What I do, so people will know, I teach people to be leaders. I don't want students under me forever. Right. And so my Mdu Ntr class, my beginner Mdu Ntr class, is all taught by my student. My beginner and my intermediate classes are all done by my students. I have a divine sister Ankh.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna talk about that later. Mfundishi, you giving a spoiler.
Okay, all right.
So with the crystals, I just want to do a little recap. So Mfundishi explained the colors, explained what they do, how they make you feel, and even where you can place them on your person. Another suggestion or something that I've seen is when women have waist beads and they have crystals a part of the waist bead. That's something that I'm looking forward to.
Yes. So they'll wear the crystals on the waist beads. They'll wear them around their neck. I see somebody in the chat says, do crystals operate, whether you believe it or not? And yes, to that question. It's like gravity. Does gravity care whether you believe it or not? No, it's an energy force. It doesn't care if you're black, white, fat, small, ugly, mad, happy.
Right.
Gravity operates on everybody the same. The crystals do the same thing. But now let me say this. If you believe in the power of the crystals, now you can use that energy for good and use that energy in your life. It's like you saying, well, I don't believe in gravity. I'm so-and-so, and you get up on the roof. You're in for a rude awakening. Okay, so crystals is kind of like that. If I know how to use it, now I can use that energy to enhance my life. So I just want to say that, like I know the order and I know what organs the crystals are operating on. So now I can enhance that feeling with those crystals. Okay.
So
if I didn't know and I was wearing the crystal, it's still going to do what it does. But let's say this. When I chant Remember that words are power. That's why when you spell something, you put a spell. When you spell something out, that's called a spelling. Words have power. And so if I chant and talk about the energy of that crystal, I enhance it in the universe because now I'm acknowledging it.
Okay. So I was going to ask, like, let's say someone buys some crystals from you and they get the package and they open up the package. What can they do practically, functionally, to make crystals a part of their morning routine, afternoon routine, part
Yes,
of
I
their
appreciate it.
rituals?
Yes, I
Yes.
appreciate that. Well, first of all, when you get your crystals, the first thing you need to do is cleanse them. And so you can sage them. You burn your sage, let the smoke run over them. That will get rid of all negative entities. Your harder crystals that are 6.5 and harder, then you can wash in sea salt or take to the ocean and wash. Your softer stones that are softer than 6.5, and there's something called Mohs hardness scale. It's free on the internet. Mohs hardness scale, and it gives you a hardness index of all the crystals from 0 to 10. Something like calcite, very soft stone you can chip with your fingernail. It's like 1, 2, 3. And there's something like a diamond. It's the number 10. That's the hardest surface. Okay. And then you got in fact, if you have things like a sapphire and stuff like that, those are very expensive stones because they're hard. They're like an 8 or 9. Your quartz crystal usually is around a 7.5. So your harder crystals usually cost more, and their vibration is higher. And you need a harder crystal even to scratch that crystal. So diamond is again the hardest. Diamond is harder than steel. Diamond is harder than iron. Okay, diamond is the hardest surface on the planet Earth. That's a 10, and then you come down from there. Like a lot of our ancestors used diorite. They actually carved statues out of diorite. Diorite is a 9.0 on the hardness scale. One of the hardest metals. And you're saying, my goodness, if they only had copper tools, how did they do that? Well, when you join the pre-ship, I'll teach you how. Okay. So it's just a science. We are scientists. I call myself a spiritual scientist. You see, there's a physical science and a spiritual science. Physical science, like, is something that you can touch, feel, measure, and get the end results. Spiritual science, sometimes you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't measure it, but I can still see the end results.
Right. You experience it.
Right. So there's spiritual science and then there's physical science. Okay. And then quantum physics tries to explain that which cannot be seen. So if you look at the definition of quantum physics, it's the same as spirit, a energy force that moves and controls things that cannot be seen. It's the same type of thing in metaphysics, So, okay. So I'm just trying to let you know this avenue. So again, you take and you cleanse your crystals, whether you're using salt water, sea salt, sage, Palo Santo, burning it like that. Then at that point, you pray on it. You put your intent into it. So it becomes you. And let me say something. Sometimes some people say, well, this crystal I'm using because it's good for sleep. And they tell you that. And then you use the crystal and they keep you awake all night. Okay. And so sometimes you got to practice. You got to talk to the crystals. I know this is going to sound crazy to some of y'all, but you communicate. Let me say this here. We have the 5 domains. Communication exists between you and all of them. So the spirit domain is first. We are the most spiritual people on the planet. Our ancestors commune with the spirit all the time. And so you tap into the spirit domain. You're in touch with forces that cannot be seen, cannot be touched, cannot be felt, but we can see its end results.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Then we tap into the mineral domain. The planet is a mineral. The stars are mineral. The sun is a mineral. You are made of those same minerals. Okay. So now somebody used to tell me and ask the question, they said, Mfundishi, y'all just making this stuff up. How do you know that crystal is vibrating like that? Okay, I'm gonna go back to George Washington Carver. They asked George Washington Carver, how did you invent 300 inventions from one peanut? You took one peanut and made 300 different inventions from it, from dye to paint to glue to to car, to a metal, to a plastic, to food and different types of food, to peanut butter. All of this. You took one peanut. And then how do we know that certain herbs do what they're supposed to do? How did the first person know? How do you know what certain animals are doing and thinking? Because the ancient ancestors in the Kemetic legacy basically taught us that anytime you and any other energy form, whether it's spirit, mineral, plant, animal, or human, if you share unconditional love, meaning I don't want anything from you. I just want to embrace you. I just want to share with you. I just want to give you myrrh. I just want to myrrh you. And I don't want anything back. When that's exchange, secrets are exchanged. So George Washington Carver would get up 4 o'clock in the morning. He would water the plants. He would fondle the leaves and dust them off. He would talk to it. He would literally sing to it. He played harmonious music in the background. And the plant began to mentally communicate with him and tell him what he should do. Even when I was writing my book, Mdu Ntr and the Spirit of the Magi, as I'm writing, I was saying, like, now, how do I do this? How do I tap into what Mdu Ntr was thinking at the time? And if you understand something called the Akashic Records, the Akashic Records says that, according to Jhutyms, everything that was said, that is being spoken, and will be spoken is all happening now. So by tapping into the cosmic records, I can go back 5,000 years and hear it just like I'm listening right now. I can go, it's like a library. It's like a physical library, but it's mental. It's not some place. It's not like you got to go to Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro to get to the Akashic. No, the Akashic records are wherever you are. It's in your consciousness. It's in your mind. You have access. You have access to the creation story of the world through meditation. And let me say something. The most profound things you will ever see is not with these eyes. The most profound things you will ever hear is not with these ears. And the most profound voice you will ever hear won't come from a voice from here in the mouth. I asked my sister, when you dream, do you dream in Technicolor?
Who, me?
Yes.
I don't know. I dream in color. They feel it's like it's real life, really happening.
But now, are you using these eyes?
No.
These eyes are closed, aren't they?
They're closed. And I'll say this. After my father died, and also when I'm fasting, like water fasting, my dreams are more vivid and they feel real. And
they are real.
I feel like I especially after my father, I felt like I was brought into a different dimension where I was actually speaking to him. And I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go see my dad today. And at a certain point, I would be awake. I would, go brush my teeth, say my prayers. And while I was at my altar praying, then I would wake up like even further and realize that that was a dream. But mind you, I had gotten up, I had brushed my teeth, which for me includes flossing, brushing, scraping your tongue, and doing that twice. And then meaning I was awake doing stuff and still hadn't connected that was a dream. And that happens a lot. And it also happens when I water fast for a few days and meditate. So that realm is there, and you can enter into that realm through practice.
So I wanted to ask those questions because the reason why I wanted our listeners to understand that you are seeing with your consciousness.
That's right.
Not with these eyes. These eyes are just reflectors. Only the mind can see. In fact, it is so profound that if your consciousness is on a dull level, you see very little things, even though you might have 20/20 vision.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking down the street and your conscious level is low. So you just see some mundane stuff. I'm walking down the street and I go, oh man, they imitating our pyramids. Look at our structures. They got our Kemetic stuff all over the place. And you can like, what? Mfundishi, what are you talking about? I had one of my students, an architect, and his son was about 5 years old. So we were in the class talking about the shape of pyramids and what it does, how it creates negative ions and charge things up, how it can help you mentally, you know. And so the little boy's walking with his father downtown New York, Manhattan. And the little boy looks up and says, Dad, there's pyramids all over the place on top of these buildings. They're imitating our ancestors. Now, before that class, he saw that, but it didn't register.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't see it. This happens to everybody. A new car comes out, but the car been out for 6 months. It's been driving up and down the street. And today, somebody says, Abut Seshat, did you see that new Lexus? And you look and say, no, I never saw that before. And we say, look at it. And then you go, wow, that's really beautiful. Now, after that, every time you turn around, you see the car.
You see the car.
Now, the car was there all before, but your consciousness didn't allow you to recognize it because it wasn't necessary.
Right.
So I just want people to understand that two people can be looking in the direction of the same thing and see two different things because you see with your consciousness. So somebody who's on the spirit, watch, one person who's spiritually conscious sees something and he goes, oh man, I'm going to collect that because I can make some money out of that. Another person sees, they go, that's just a rock, man. That's just a rock. You know, consciousness is different. The other person goes, no, man, that's crystal cola. That's crystal cola. You know, because your mind is different. So you see value in things where other people don't.
Right.
Some people see a style and they're thinking their mind is going, oh man, I can create that and I can make a whole bunch of money. Another person is saying, oh man, that's some old stuff, man. You know, they don't see the value. So I'm trying to let you know, we even value things through our consciousness. So that's why they say a person is how they thinketh. You are how you thinketh. Now, program your crystals. So I'm saying all of that to say when you're speaking, you're programming your crystals. You talk into your crystal what you want it to do, how you want it to help you. You say turquoise, I know you're supposed to be a communicative stone. I want to tap into my ancestors and see how they're doing and let them know that I'm still with them and I acknowledge them. And so now your crystal is fine-tuning that. There are certain people who go on a psychological trip through mushrooms where the mushroom enhances and alters their state. Well, you can get to a place and you want to come back to that place. You can charge your quartz crystal to give you directions to that place. So you put in the coordinates. So now when I go into meditation, I don't have to go thumbing through it. I pull my crystal out and I meditate, bam, and it takes me directly to that place, just like a GPS system in a map. Okay, so you can program crystals. People, the crystal skulls have programs in it. Okay, so crystals can program information, locations, and zillions of megabytes of information can be stored in a crystal. Okay, so I mean I can go on and on about what these crystals can be used from, but I just want people to know: cleanse your crystal, program your crystal, talk to your crystals, keep your crystals on you. Let me say, if your crystal is this big and you're here home and your crystal is in your office, it ain't helping you. If you got this giant crystal here in your house and then you go on 125th Street that crystal energy didn't go with you. That crystal is still at home.
Right.
So don't say, "Oh yeah, I got that crystal." No, do you have it on you? Okay, so it needs to be in your auric field. So let me tell people, the average person's aura, the electromagnetic field, their aura field, is approximately the distance of their arm. Hopefully, you ain't got short arms. Okay, so the distance of your arm is approximately that speed. So when somebody walks in that space, they're walking in your, I call it in your nut. Nut is your electromagnetic force field. Like nut in the sky is a magnetic force field around the planet Earth. It gives life. That's your universal feminine energy. The solid energy is your universe, what appears to be solid, is your universal masculine energy. It's slow and moving very slow. The universal feminine energy is moving quicker. Universal quick. And every universal masculine energy has a universal feminine energy around it. If I pick this up, there's a force field around this. That force field is the one that gives you the energy and the life. The earth was barren until a ozone layer was created. The feminine energy now allowed birth to happen and reproduction to happen. That's the universal feminine energy. Okay. So that's why we had Nut, we had Aset, we had Seshat, the seven pole stars, Seshat. She's the astronomer. So Seshat is the astronomer. She's the mathematician, right? The mate of Jhuty. Okay. So the earth was Geb. So the masculine energy was the earth. I know you were taught that it's Mother Earth. You got that from Europeans. Because the Europeans couldn't stand the idea that God or the divine feminine energy was God in the sky. They wanted God to be the white man. And so the white man is in the sky, God. And we're going to put the Mother Earth, the earth is mother, that will put you down
on the ground.
Right. So it's reversed. They reversed our symptomatic thinking process and gave you a symbolic thought, and you don't even know why. It's the Mother Earth. It's the Mother Earth because somebody told you that.
Because someone told you that.
Now, I like the Native Americans' approach. The Native American approach is the Mother Father Earth. They ain't taking no chances. They do both of them. It's the Mother Father.
It's the Mother Father Earth. Right. I can see that, both the feminine and masculine.
Father Earth, feminine sky. So so Nut is in the sky to protect the people, to protect the the deceased, to protect you in the underworld, all of that. That's Nut. So inside of the sarcophagus, you see Nut. You don't see the male energy. You see the universal feminine energy.
That's right.
And you see swallowing the sun each night and then giving birth to the sun each day. Okay, so people, program your crystal, talk to your crystal, love your crystals, touch your crystals, bundle them. And if you meditate with them, then they will tell you what their function is. Okay.
So so thank you for that very in-depth explanation with crystals. And I hope that everyone, starts to see how we can take what we need and use it, in our own practical world and connect it back to our ancestors. I have a couple of questions. There's one from Snet Cheryl. Is there a test that you can do to distinguish if a crystal is fake or real?
Well, outside being a geologist, where you have a magnifying glass and you can see the molecular structure. And so the reason how we know how you can separate a crystal from a rock, let me say this, all crystals are part of the rock family, but all rocks are not crystals. Okay. Crystals are molecular structures that have a particular pattern, a repeating pattern. So what makes a quartz crystal different from an amethyst crystal is a pattern, a repeating pattern, like a programming repeating pattern. So if you understand the pattern and you understand the composition, then you can tell whether it's real or not real. Like the Chinese are pumping out some fake crystals. I see a lot of people, a lot of the malachite they got, it's not real malachite. That's a Chinese formula that they just put together, and it kind of resembles malachite, but you don't. It's the energy is not even there. You know.
So basically, you just have to know your source, kind of like food.
Yeah.
Like where are you getting your crystals from? So
Right.
you know, Baba Mfundishi told us he's getting his crystals from the motherland or from Brazil. You said?
Yeah, South America.
South America. So there's another crystal. I mean, another question.
And
Can I
who
share?
you're getting your crystals from is also important.
That's right.
If you're getting your crystal from somebody who's evil and just that energy is on it. So I'm not saying the crystal might not be good. It might be a real authentic crystal, but you need, before you do anything with it, is take it home, cleanse it, pray on it, sage it, you know, before you start using it, because when you touch certain crystals, you automatically put your energy on it.
That's right. Touching anything is an
Right.
energy exchange. That's
So
why
that
people
means
shouldn't touch you.
if 20 people touch that crystal during the day, and then you came along and you were number 21 and you bought it, you taking 20 people home with you who touched that crystal. So you need to be saging it, you need to cleanse it, you need to purify it, and now you program it to do what you want it to do.
Okay. Question moves.
For the spouse.
Yeah.
I want to say this. Each person needs their own crystal. Your spouse has a different energy than you do. And so it's just like a sister and brother who closer than the spouse don't have the same energy crystal. Everybody needs their own crystal because it's programmed to you. Let me say this here. Just like everybody got a different fingerprint, everybody got a slightly different energy. So even though it's your loving spouse, no, you give them their own crystal, and then you have your crystal. If you're sharing, because your spouse might be on a different mission than you. Your spouse's mission, she's a lawyer. She needs to be able to do certain energy. And you're a crystal healer, or you're a priest. So y'all are two. She's fighting, putting people in jail. You trying to get them out of jail. So y'all have different energies.
Can you have a marital crystal? Like this crystal represents the union, and you want to make sure that you're in alignment and that your energies are complementary with each other. Could you have a marital crystal?
Yeah, let me say this. The Chinese used to do this. They used to take jade, and they would take a piece of jade, and they would break it off and give each member of the family a piece of that jade. Now they're all connected. They all got a piece of the same stone. Somebody's 100 miles away and they're in danger, and that crystal will let you know, so you can feel it like that. You see that? So that's sharing energy. Okay, so yes, that can happen like that. But again, your children should have their own crystals. You have your own crystals. Your mate has their own crystal, and you have your own.
Mm-hmm. I want to just answer Sakina Ross' question. The contact information we're going to give at the end. So I'm going to save that question for the end. So I want to shift to the Mdu Ntr. Some people feel like you don't need to learn it to practice. Some people feel like you do. I personally feel like you should learn the Mdu Ntr so that you yourself can read what you need to read, whether you're in Kemet, whether you're in a museum, whether you're reading through a book, or whether you're writing to practice, because everyone needs to be able to interpret that the language of our ancestors for themselves. And this is my opinion. Yeah. And because language is the verbalization of culture. And right now we're speaking English, which was given to us or forced on us through enslavement. And so part of what we have is we still have a European paradigm linguistically because we're using that language.
Yes.
Now let's say we all spoke Yoruba. I'm gonna just pick Yoruba to be simple, for simplicity's sake. There's a grammar structure that's different. There are expressions that are different. The rest of the tongue, the top of the roof of the mouth, the back of the throat, bottom of the throat, all of that is used differently than we use in English. English is a pretty lazy language. We don't roll our R's. We ain't doing that. We ain't clicking. We ain't doing nothing in the throat, the nose, nothing. So we've lost whatever our native language had vocally, tonally, in the head, whatever it was. So I said all that to say this. It's very important for us to be able to read the Mdu Ntr and to try to speak it as best we know our ancestors spoke it, so we can begin to shift whatever needs to shift, so we can live and practice more, as close as we can get to how it was before, and of course apply it to, they're the sirens, and apply it to our modern day living. That's my opinion on the Mdu Ntr. Now,
Mdu Ntr is also our classical language.
That's right.
Your classical language means the best that your culture has to offer. So obviously, Greek and Latin can't be our classical language like it is to Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
Our language is thousands of years older than that. And so therefore, Mdu Ntr is the only language that puts you back in tune with nature. I was teaching a class in Ghana from Ashanti tree to the Mdu Ntr. And the people didn't know the Ashanti tree word for half of the things. They didn't even know it in their own language because they only learned their language symbolically. Somebody says it means that, so they just said it means that. And they didn't intrinsically know. Where in the Mdu Ntr, now it makes you go and analyze. Like, for example, I give a sheet out on birds. So you got to know the sounds of this bird, right? And so the owl sound of a bird is right? The hawk vulture sound of the bird is ah. Okay, right. The swallow sound is whir, right?
Whir.
Right. So each one of these birds had a different sound, and they were connecting it to nature. So when you saw the swallow bird, it represents something good, because now the Africans understood the nature of the bird. That bird eats insects, but it eats the insects that you call pests. So it eats mosquitoes, flies, bugs, gnats, things like that. And it eats in the air. So it's eating all the negative things that you're trying to get away from. It's eating. So you want the bird around you. You'll even see this bird sitting on top of animals, sitting on top of the hippo, and they don't even try to shoo it off because the bird is eating the bugs and the insects and stuff off of him. So when we understood, as opposed to the sparrow, bin, is negative. The sparrow is always eating something dead, right? It's a pest, even among other birds. It steals other birds' eggs and nests. It's always around something where something's good not happening. And so the ancestors understood that. So when something's bad, they put a little sparrow bird there. See? So again, it's the understanding of nature. The king is depicted as a great falcon, because they knew that no bird flies higher than the falcon. No bird is faster than the falcon, right? No bird has a keener insight than the falcon, eyesight. And so they understood the nature of these animals. It's like you think the lion is the king. The lion is giving the rappers the king, but the leopard, the Black Panther, the leopard is the king. That's why the high priest wears the leopard skin. That's why that's worn all around the world, the leopard skin. Seshat wears the leopard skin. Okay, that is the highest. You'll see leopards jump in the water and kill crocodiles. They're so bad, okay? They are some of the greatest hunters out there. They're not in the same domain as the lion. The lion is in the savannah, and technically the leopard is more in the tropical rainforest, the jungle area. Okay, you can manipulate better in that. So when we know the animal domain, when we know the plant domain, the Mdu Ntr is only using those symbols because it's spiritually, symptomatically understood its function. So the suit plant is symbolic of royalty. The suit plant is symbolic of the South. And the suit plant is something symptomatically talking about something divine. I say Kemet and the suit we're at. So now, why is this plant that? So when we study the suit plant, it basically comes from the south, the interior of Africa, closer towards Sudan, Ethiopia, like that. The suit plant can be eaten as a food. I can take the suit plant and make rope from it. I can make clothes, fiber. I can make clothes out of the suit plant. I can use it as building material. So I can build a house with it. I can clothe myself with it. I can eat with it. I can use rope to tie it down and hunt with it. So this one plant, it can help sustain life. So they looked at it as a divine royal plant. So we're going to show this plant as symbolic of the South. So you see that? So now they just didn't arbitrarily say, okay, let's just make this South. Let's just make this that. No, they symptomatically understood. And the whole Mdu Ntr is like that. I'm going to just do one more. Kepper, the dung beetle. So the dung beetle technically is the strongest creature on the planet Earth in proportion to its size. It can lift 1,150 times its weight. It's the only creature that can make a perfect spear with his leg without any instruments. It's always moving and rolling the dung towards the light, moving towards the east. It drills the hole in the ground and buries the dung in it. So drilling the hole in the ground would be called irrigation. When he puts the dung in it, it's called fertilization. So you got all it. It's the strongest creature in the world in the proportion to the. Can you imagine lifting 1,000 times your weight and running down the street and never getting tired?
Backwards.
Right. You know, so this would be like the superpowers. You know, I don't think Superman got nothing on that. Even the Marvel comics, you know. So we saw these superpowers within nature, and then we used them in the Mdu Ntr. So the Kepper is to come into being, always moving towards the light. Neb Kepper Ra, you know, master of coming into being towards the light of Ra. Right. And going back to your prayers, I only pray in an African tongue, either in Mdu Ntr or Swahili. All my prayers are always like, when I'm communing with the ancestors, I'm always going back. It's Swahili or Mdu Ntr. Only when I do English is I'm translating so people want to know what I said. You know, we're sitting down and eating, and I go, I'm in Ra, Nasut Nature, Achinra. They go, wait, what was that? You know, did you just curse us out? What was going on? So, you know, I'll translate it for them, you know. But it's important for you to tap into that ancestral information. So the Mdu Ntr opens up a whole new world.
That's right. That's right.
A whole new world.
Our world.
So you've been asleep until you learned your culture. Culture is your medicine. So if you got somebody else's medicine, you're going to be sick. You just can't go in anybody's file cabinet and pull out some medicine and start taking it. You need to know what it's for. It was prescribed for them. So Mdu Ntr was prescribed for us. And guess what? The Europeans is taking our medicine and getting rich off of it. Every museum got some Mdu Ntr in it or got some Egyptian artifacts. And in half of the time, they're giving you the wrong message. You don't want a non-spiritual people translating a spiritual text.
That's right. That's right.
And the rabbit would never go to the fox to get a translation of its true history.
That's right. Say that again. Oh my goodness. That's right.
So that's what we're doing. We're going to the fox, and we already know the nature of the fox. The fox is trickery. He's slick, and he wants to have you for dinner. I mean, we already know that. And we still, watch this. We got people in the community that trust their former enslavers more than they do their own people. Or, watch this. One black store will do something wrong, and they go, oh, I ain't buying nothing for no more black people. But what wrong all their life?
Don't get me started on that.
I never heard somebody saying, That white guy messed me up. I ain't buying nothing from no more white people.
Right.
But we do it about black people.
We do it to ourselves.
We gotta give you. You know what I said? You need a crystal. Here, take this rose quartz. You need a crystal to tap into your inner self. Okay, so the Mdu Ntr is our classical language, and everybody needs to embrace it. And I don't care what African language you speak, Mdu Ntr will enhance it because it will tell you why that word means that in your own language. Thank you.
So, Mfundishi, do you still teach Mdu Ntr, or is your daughter teaching that, or have
yes,
you
I teach the advanced class, and my students teach the beginner and intermediate class. I have Sister Ankh teaches the very beginner, then Brother Majed Haru teaches second half. Then I have Basui, and I have Brother Wajedi teach the intermediate class. And then after they get through all of those, then I take. But I also teach a beginner master class. So in the spring, I have a master class 1 and 2. Because in April, we suggest that if you're going to Kemet, take my class.
Right.
When you go to Kemet, you already know what you're looking at before you even get there. You're not taking the guide's word for it, and a lot of time they're just bamboozling you.
Right. It's very important that you go with a guide who knows what's really written and what's really said historically. So
But like what you said earlier, you need to make that connection yourself.
That's right.
When you learn that Mdu Ntr, it's not Mfundishi said, no, I learned this, and this is what the ancestors are saying to me. So when you're at the Merkut, what they call the pyramid, right? You get a different energy than what the Europeans are seeing.
That's right.
When we went inside the great Merkut of Khufu, we went inside the king's chamber. We formed a circle there. We held hands and we prayed inside, and you can feel it. The white people were saying, "What are y'all doing?" We could feel the energy. That's what they were saying when we were in there, just all black people in our circle. We prayed, and then we all went over and put our hands on the open sarcophagus and touched and said, "We can feel the spirit of our ancestors, and we're going to take them home with us." Boom. Well, we can feel that. So we get something different than what other people get. Remember, we're everybody's parents.
We're everybody's parents. And everybody acts like children around us sometimes. I be wanting to put them in timeout, but that's another story.
I want to be getting them a spanking. But so I was taught at a very early age, she said, "Son, you can't give everybody a spanking who deserves one." You gotta, give space.
I want to say this about the Mdu Ntr. I took Anika's class, and part of what we did towards the end of the class, we had like 10 or 12 sessions. This was a while ago. This was around the time my dad died, so some of those memories are a little fuzzy. But even after just having 10 weeks of the class, when we went to the museum, I was able to read some of the Mdu Ntr, and she most certainly put me on the spot. And I was able to read it. And so when you get your instruction and you listen to your teacher explain to you what it is, and just like Baba was saying, there's a reason why this symbol is the symbol. There's a reason why this symbol makes that sound. And let me add a little zest on top of it. In order for someone to say, or for people to say, this animal does this, how long did that group of people have to sit back and observe that animal to make that conclusion? So this language is ancient, but the people who put it together are even more ancient because they had to spend the time to actually create the language based upon what they had seen and experienced for thousands of years. Okay, so there's history in the language. It's our history. And the more you learn the Mdu Ntr, the more you write it and say it and pray in it, you're able to grasp some of the culture that we have lost, and you begin to have a paradigm shift.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
begin to have a paradigm shift to understand this is how my brain was working. This is how I interacted with nature. This is how my whole cranium was a part of speaking.
Yes. You see, the symbolic system has turned the world upside down, inside out, and backwards. So you think north is up, in ancient Kemet, north is down. You think south is down, but in ancient Kemet, south is up. So now the Europeans did a master job of turning it around. North is still the same place. North is still north, but now it's a different paradigm. So if I got you upside down, inside out, and backwards, if I give you some good information, you can't even do nothing with it.
You don't know what to do with it because you're disoriented in every direction.
Seshat, think about this. Think of how many master teachers we have had just in the last century. You had the Dr. Clarks, the Dr. Benz, the Asa Hilliards. You had all of these powerful, the Malcolm X's. You had all these, and we still lost. We got the information. They've given us formulas. We had Marcus Garvey. We know Africa for the Africans. Come on. We've had these great teachings, and yet what Dr. Small in our movie Hoppy talking about, we have $1.3 trillion we made last year, which would make us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. That's just Africans in America. And we don't have control of no African city in America. And the towns that we used to have control of, symptomatically, the government has destroyed that power. And so now we might have rich black people there, but the Europeans control it.
But they control it. And let's not forget the good old integrationists and the people who are programmed, brainwashed, or both, who help chip away at our unity, which was our economic power base. But yes, that's a whole nother Tuesday talk.
Yeah, that's another topic. So see, if culture is your medicine, then you do things culturally first.
That's right.
The European Jews, they don't, right and wrong is irrelevant to them. Is it part of the Jewish culture? If it's part of the Jewish culture, we do it. I don't care if somebody made the story up. If it's part of their culture, they don't want to hear nothing else. We were in Egypt with Dr. Ben, and a group of Hasidic Jews were there. We were on Philae Island. That's the island dedicated to Aset. And the Jews were saying, our ancestors built this with mud, brick, and straw. Ain't no mud, brick, and straw, nothing. Everything is granite stone and stuff like that, right? But he's telling them our ancestors built this when we were slaves. And, so we need to be proud of this. And Dr. Ben heard that and walked over to him. There's about 30 of them. And he said, this is a GD lie. He said, this was done by my black African ancestors. There ain't no mud, brick, and straw nowhere. This is our engineers carving stone and stuff like that. And they listened to Dr. Ben ramp and rave for about 10 minutes, right? And the Jews didn't say nothing. They just looked at him. And then Dr. Ben came back over to us. And then the rabbi said, as I was saying, our ancestors did so and so. And they just went on. So the truth is irrelevant. In fact, there's something called cognitive dissonance. So even when I tell you what you think is correct is totally incorrect, you can't handle it and you dismiss it.
We see a lot of that as Black people when we're dealing with our family members who are Christian and who choose to stay Christian. And despite any kind of fact, any kind of data, information, books to read, it's just ignored, and they continue doing what they want to do. And here's one that really gets me. When people justify eating chitlins, and when I say that is slave food, besides the fact that it's a poop bag because you're holding the poop of the pig, I'm gonna just put that to the side for a second. But it's something that our enslavers gave our ancestors, and it was passed down the line. Why are you still using tools of enslavement?
And it has no nutritional value.
And putting it in your mouth. And would you eat food from a toilet if I said I cleaned it well? Would you eat food out of someone's underwear that had a crotch stain if somebody washed it and said it was cleaned well? I ask people this, and Baba, it's a delicacy, it's this and that. You put hot sauce on a whole bunch of other stuff.
So that's what I'm talking about. See, so if your program and you have this Western paradigm and you've accepted it, that even if I give you something good, until I can shift your paradigm, you
That's
can't
right.
do anything with it.
That's right. You have to shift your paradigm. And let me say this. When you believe everything you see on TV and you're eating you're eating
You shouldn't even have a
Popeye's
television
chicken.
on.
You're eating Popeye's chicken and you're drinking soda and you're not exercising. You're like, so not only we were talking about spiritual spaces, conscious spaces, things you can't touch but you can experience and you see the results. I'm talking about stuff you can see. You can see a piece of Popeye's chicken. You can see a soda XYZ. But when you eat that type of stuff, the spirit world within you, the spirit within you is connected to the physical. So what you do physically affects you spiritually. Ladies, we know this. If you have a bunch of sex partners, you have all the spirits of those men within you until you get that out of you. So from that perspective, women, we already understand that the physical and the spirit connect. So when your mind is physically and body is physically congested with things that prevent you from reaching to that higher consciousness, you are much more susceptible and or gravitate towards cognitive dissonance and not just believe in straight up facts.
Yes. And you just, it's like, I show you proof.
Proof.
And it don't mean nothing because it doesn't fit in your paradigm. It doesn't fit in your and people will do. See, a belief system can be extremely dangerous without any proof. That's symbolic thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the Mdu Ntr does, somebody said, well, Mfundishi, well, wait a minute. Mdu Ntr got all these symbols. So isn't that symbolic? I said, no, it's symptomatic thinking to reading the symbol. I know why that symbol was done like that. You don't. So it's just symbolic to you. It's symptomatic thought for me. Okay. So, the brain can only operate two ways. Either symptomatically, it's proven, or symbolically, somebody just tell you.
That's right.
That's why you tell a kid, don't touch, it's hot. And they got to touch it anyway. Hot. Now, symptomatically, they know the stove is hot. No one else ever have to tell them for the rest of their life. Symptomatically, it's registered. Well, the Mdu Ntr is like that in everything. It's telling you why something is like that. English, first of all, English is so backwards and idiotic. And it's tapped into a culture, this anti-out culture.
That's right.
We like to say in the morning, grand rising, because the sun is rising, giving energy. The Europeans like to say good morning, because what are you mourning? Because you killed some people last night? Okay. All right. So you have to understand their language. Somebody wrote down, oh man, I had a bloody good time. What do you mean you had a bloody good time? What was you killing something, stabbing people? What do you mean you had a bloody good time? Okay. Or somebody told me I had a picture up and they said, oh, that's bloody hot. What do you mean bloody hot? So we gotta watch the words. The word berserk comes from a group of people from the Nordic area who were the berserks. To tore stuff up. The Vandals is from, again, Northern Europe. They came down and just destroy stuff. So that's why when you tear stuff up, they call that vandalism. From the European culture. And we use these words and we have no clue of what it is. So I'm saying ignorance is one of the greatest diseases known to man.
That's right.
Ignorance. And ignorance simply means you don't know. So you spend your whole life learning. I'll tell you the real difference between a master, a grandmaster, and a fool. A fool thinks he knows everything. The grandmaster knows that he don't hardly know nothing.
Then I'm a grandmaster because that's how I feel sometimes.
Right. The more you know, the more you realize how little you know.
Yep.
But ignorance is bliss sometimes because you just think you just know it all,
And you know what? And there are people who know that they've created this bubble, and here you come with your little stick pin, walking over to them with their bubble. They don't want to leave their bubble, because then after that, now what? If the bubble is burst, I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for the things that I do and say in my life, in my happiness and health, etc.
Somebody put in the chat here, what are some ways to get rid of those partners or those entities in your life?
Right.
First of all, you can't fix them. You fix them by fixing yourself. So you got to be the best version of yourself. I have a couple of books here. This is called The Golden Apple, and it's teaching you symptomatic thinking. And then I have another book here called The African Answer. Africa cannot control itself, will not dominate itself, will not be a united Africa until Africans change the way they think.
That's right.
So that's the foundation, from those books. And then this book will help you after you know you have to change your thinking. Then Spiritual Warriors or Healers will help you start to heal yourself. And Spiritual Warriors, the whole job is for you. You work on self first before you work on anybody else. If you're all sick and you're trying to help the community, that's not going to work. I'm able to teach some people. If I'm in my mid-70s and I can do almost everything that my students can do, then it lets me know that I've been doing something right. My colleagues who teach in the martial arts in the 1960s and 70s are either dead or had operations or dysfunctional now. So it lets me know that, forget about speaking now, they were doing something consistently wrong.
Right. Yep.
And I've been doing something consistently
right. And I want to say this. I'm gonna make 3 points. If you haven't met Mfundishi in person, then you have not experienced his energy. Mfundishi has very strong, vibrant energy. And so he's been doing something consistently right. And this is what I have said. As human beings, if you cannot go to sleep, go number 2, or have an erection, you're doing something wrong. Because those 3 things are natural and you shouldn't have a problem doing them. So we can have another Tuesday talk about health, and we have had them. You can look back. We've had a couple of them. We talked about slave food on one of them. I had Queen Tandiwe and Bonaset back to back, so you can look those up. So we have had those conversations, but those are pretty basic natural things that we should all be able to do. The other thing I want to say, all of Baba Mfundishi's contact information, those books that he recommended, where you can purchase his books, where you can take his classes. What I'm going to do is update the flyer. So wherever you saw the flyer on the Shrine of Ma'at's Facebook page, is probably where you saw it. I'm going to have all that stuff, and I'm going to put it up tonight because I don't want to do it tomorrow. So I'm going to put it up tonight after the class. So you'll be able to have all that information tonight. Give me some time. I'll put it up.
So now let's tell people how to use it today. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So the training of this for now, how do we take this ancient information and use it today?
Well, there's one more thing that I want to say to address. Okay. I forgot Quay. I've come to realize that we have one relationship, and that's the relationship with yourself, period. And then all other relationships are a reflection of that. What do you allow in your sphere, in your aura? Baba Mfundishi spoke about that. How do you speak to yourself will determine how you let people speak to you. What kind of food do you eat? What, just all of those things. You have one relationship. That's the relationship with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Understand why decisions were made, and then forgive yourself from it, heal from it, all of those things. And then when you have a healthy relationship with yourself, just like when you become conscious, you'll start to see all the nonsense people, nonsense places, nonsense things. You don't want to be bothered with it. You steer clear of it, and your space becomes so incredibly peaceful. I promise you, if you keep working at it, you're going to have peace in your space too. I promise you, sis.
Right.
Go ahead, Baba.
There's 5 sacred temples that a person needs to keep clean, vibrant, and healthy. The first temple is your consciousness. That connects you to the universe. So you need to be reading. You need to be traveling. You need to see, and you need to be around other people who are spiritually conscious. If you're the smartest person in your group, you need to find another group.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody in your group is a fool, guess what?
You won too.
You won too. Okay. So you got to be realistic about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second temple is your heart. That's why we weigh the heart, not the brain. We weigh the heart. The heart is downloaded. The heart is operating before the brain comes into contentions. And so the heart will tell you, your intuition is telling you the nature. What is the nature saying to you? As opposed to just the cosmos. Okay. So you got a spiritual energy, then you got the heart energy. So that's your first temple, your second temple. Your third temple is your body. Keep it clean. Keep it healthy. Keep it nourished. Keep your mind clean, healthy, nourished. Keep your heart clean, nourished. You see what I'm saying? You do the same thing to all of them. So you got your mind, you got your heart, and now you got your physical body. Keep it in tune. Then you got your home. Everybody should have an altar, a sacred place in your home. In your home, you're the most vulnerable because that's where you relax. When you walk outside, you're on guard. When you come home, you put your guard down, you're relaxed. You should be burning your sage. You should be have your your crystals around you. You should have an altar for your ancestors, an altar for you, your family, and you're praying and you're bringing in positive information. You got your crystals all around you, And so now I'm recharging because in your home, in that particular temple, I'm recharging. I don't recharge when I'm out on the street. I got to be on guard. I can't be walking around like I'm on cloud nine. No, you can't be run by a car or something. You got to be conscious. You got to be on guard when you're outside. You can be relaxed and alert, but you still are not at. Your defense is up. At home, your defense comes down. So you need to make sure you're in an atmosphere that's conducive of love. Be in an atmosphere conducive. My room that I'm in right now is just surrounded by books. I got books everywhere. I got knowledge and stuff all around me. Every time I walk into a room, there's crystals, there's gemstones, there's artifacts, my statues. They're all around me. Okay? So you surround. So that's where you move. So that's your fourth temple. And your fifth temple is nature. So you need to go into the park, walk into the forest, go to the state forest or whatever. Park, have a backyard with trees in it. If you don't, you go to somebody else's backyard. Be around some trees. Be around some trees. Hug a tree. I asked the person, I said, when the last time you hugged a tree? And they said, never. That's part of your problem, okay? Go hug a tree. Get some energy here, I remember one time me and my son were on a nature walk, and he just plucking leaves off the tree. So I started pulling his hair. He said, Dad, what you doing? I said, that's what you doing to the tree? He said, no, that's just leaves. I said, no, that's just hair. He was like, oh, okay. You respect that. I respect you. Okay. So now we say, when you walk in the forest, the only thing you leave behind is footprints and memories. And now you got a camera so you can take your pictures and remember. But you don't break nothing. You don't lift over a log. You don't turn over a tree. You don't break nothing. You leave everything just the way it is. And you just observe the nature and admire its beauty. And you do that with all beautiful things. Someone said to me, Mfundishi, you're on 125th Street. You see all these beautiful women walking up and down the street. Don't you want to grab them or talk to them? I said, no. I said, if I was in a flower garden with all these beautiful, I just can't go grab it. Oh, I want that rose. I want that. No, I admire it. I look at it because I got eyes. And I said, wow, that was beautiful. And then I keep it moving. I admire its beauty. And that's what we have to learn to do, to admire beauty and to acknowledge it. We don't have to own it and possess it.
Right, right.
Okay. And so, those are some things. So those are those 5. So hopefully I left you with something. Conscious, first temple, heart, second temple, third temple, your body, your fourth temple, your personal shrine in your home. In ancient Kemet, there were no churches.
Right.
You went home to pray. Your altar was in your house. Your spirit door was in your house. You poured before you ate. This is for the homies that's not here. You might have left some food out for the ancestors. This is for the ancestors, and then you ate. And then you always commune with nature. And you never destroy nature. Nature is your partner in life.
That's right. That's right.
Again, in Kemet, when you look, it was against the law to defile the water. You couldn't chop down a tree. If you took one down, you had to plant 5. Because there's a possibility 2 or 3 of them might not make it. And then it's going to take 10 years for it to grow up to be useful. So there's laws in place to protect nature. We are now violating all those laws. And so people, we got to go back to nature. You got to study nature. And you got to study a fluid nature. Not just a picture of nature, because that's stagnant. That's why you got to go get involved. You got to go on a trip. Parents, take your children to the park. Take them to the zoo. Take them on safari. Take them to other places, other countries, other lands. Expose them. I made my show. As soon as my kids was like 8 to 10, I took them to Africa. I couldn't wait. Okay? And now here they are. They're grown. This year, me, my son, and my daughter were all in Egypt together. Okay? All right? So you got to expose them to it. Then they want, the word Sat and Sa, son and daughter in ancient Kemet. Now it's a pintail duck. The symbol is a pintail duck. Now somebody says, why is a duck the word for son? And a duck with some bread is the word for daughter. That's stupid. I said, no, it's only stupid because you're upside down, inside out, and backwards. And from a Western perspective, it didn't make sense. But if you understood nature, you understand that if you watch a pintail duck and you watch the little ducklings, they do everything the parents do. If the parents fall in the hole, every little duckling falls in the same hole. If he steps in some squat, every little duck steps in the same squat. If he jumps in the water, every little duck jumps in the water. So the ancients are saying, boy, those ducklings are obedient. I want my children to be obedient like that. And so that obedient duck that does everything the parent done was a good son and a good daughter. And so the ancient Kemetic observing that said, good. So this pintail duck, that's the word for son. And put a little loaf of bread, the T feminine for feminine, that's the word Sat for daughter. So now here is somebody who was still in our culture. A famous Hebrew name is Sarah. It's actually a Kemetic name. Sarah means the son of the sun. Satra means the daughter of the sun. So when they name a woman Sarah, it should have been Satra, but they didn't know the language and the culture, so they came as close as they could. Sarah really is talking about it says son of the sun, the S-O-N of the S-U-N, but it's supposed to be Satra. That should be the woman's name. And a man's name is Sarah. Every king in ancient Kemet, one of his names was Sarah, was one of his titles. And every woman, Satra. So we got to tap in. So when you're choosing a name, make sure it's indicative to the culture and is fluent with nature, and it's going to help you on your journey. I knew a girl once that her name was Kwame. I said, what are you doing with a name like that? Kwame is a male child born on Saturday. You're a female born on Tuesday. What's up with that? I like the way it sounds. I had a really good friend who I still love. Her name is Kim Orr. But Kim Orr is a masculine name. It means the great black. Your name should be Kemet Waret. That's the great black for a feminine name. See? So you got to stay within the cultural paradigm. So make sure as you're choosing an African name, as you're tapped into an African spirit name, if you have a Kemetic spiritual priest, then they'll be making sure that you get the right, cultural paradigm. That's your name, Saniqua. You just make up a name that don't mean nothing. Okay. No, a name is supposed to help you on your journey. That's why we don't say Ramses II. We say Urser Ma'at Ra Setepin Ra. Right? He is a powerful energy, a protector of Ma'at for Ra. And he was chosen by Ra to do this. That's what his name means. If you say Ramses II, that don't mean nothing.
Nathan.
He wouldn't even know who you were talking about. Don't call Tut Ankh Amen King Tut. Tut is the word for just image. Image of what? He is the living image of Amen, the unseen creative force of the universe. So don't abbreviate these names. A name is supposed to help you on your journey.
So Tasha has a question. Was Sa-Ra giving reference to Ra?
Yeah. Sa-Ra is the son of Ra. So yeah, Sa by itself is S-A-A can mean spiritual protection. And then we know Ra is the energy of light, that unseen energy that is that gives life to the planet here. So technically, Sa-Ra is the sun, the S-O-N of the energy. Sa, S-A-A, is the spiritual protection of the energy of light.
Okay.
So and let me just show this to show that the Sa-Ra, that's the protective energy, is a life preserver. That's the glyph. The Mdu Ntr, it's a life preserver. Like it protects you in water, and so they put this around to protect you spiritually. So they understood that this life preserver can protect your life and save your life in water. And so they use that same symbol for protection in all things. See, so you had to know that in order to understand that Sa is different.
That was a good question, and the explanation was I wasn't expecting all of that. Lee said just hearing the vibrations using Ma'at Ra, Sintepen Ra gives off a powerful vibe. Yes.
Gives off a powerful vibe. Yes, that gives off a power. Ma'at Ra, Sintepen Ra. That gives off a Ramses II. That did not do the same thing.
That's Nathan. That's flat.
Yes.
It's boring. There's
and
nothing.
Nobody in Kemet was named Ramses.
Nobody was saying that.
It was Mesu Ra, and they read it backwards. And then put some letters behind it, some numbers behind it. Let me just say this here. In ancient Kemet of 4,000 years, no two rulers had the identical same name spelt the same way. Just like no two rulers had the same fingerprint, no two rulers. It's the European Egyptologists that said, Amenhotep II, Amenhotep III, Amenhotep IV. If you looked at their names, just like you got two names, my first name is Jhutyms, but it's Jhutyms Ka in Haru. Mfundishi, Jhutyms. Mfundishi is a title. Okay, so Mfundishi, great spiritual grandmaster. So, but everybody's name was different. There was no Ramses II, the third, the fourth, the fifth. Each one, the second part of their name was different. I have a son. My name on my birth certificate says Hassan Kamal Salim. My son is Hassan Iman Salim. So when he was coming up, we called him Hassan Iman. When I was coming, they just called me Hassan. So I was Hassan, he's Hassan Iman. Okay. So everybody, he's not Hassan II. The Europeans do that because they must have ran out of names. They got Pope John Paul the 59th. Well, you gotta Pope John Paul the 99. How come you gotta have 99 of them guys? You couldn't think of no more names? And what they did was superimpose their culture on top of ours. So
Right.
Egyptology is a European study of an African culture.
Right.
So
And
they
that's-
superimpose their values on our stuff.
And that's
So
why
those-
it's important to be able to read the Mdu Ntr
Right.
yourself so that you can interpret it. And it goes back to the paradigm and adding historical culture to it, and really putting on the correct lens, to use a modern term, of our own culture and returning ourselves back to that.
So that everybody know, every time y'all see somebody the second and third in the Mdu Ntr, that's wrong. If you look, what you got to do is look at both of their names. They might have one name that's the same, but you look at the other name, and each one got a different parallel. The person they call Ramses the Third, his second name is totally different.
Right.
So just say both names. Just like you got a front name and a back name. Sometimes you have a front name, a middle name, and a back name.
I had 2 middle names.
Yeah. So, and that distinguishes who you are.
It sure
Okay.
does. That's
And you
right.
don't give your child. I did a spiritual reading for somebody, and we got to the name part. His name was Rufus Thomas Booker T. Washington the Eighth. I said that y'all did that 7 times. Y'all did Rufus Thomas Booker T. 7 times, and y'all didn't see nothing wrong with that. And he was talking about what I gotta be the eighth because I don't want my ancestors to. I don't want my father to feel bad. No, man, you need to break this paradigm. You need to change the paradigm. So it's got to start somewhere. You don't want to bring Rufus Thomas Booker T. Washington the Ninth into the world. You got.
Please tell me you're making this up. Please tell me you're making this up.
No, I'm serious. So that's locked in. And his explanation, like I said, when I asked him that, was that, when that was his father, and he don't want to do injustice for his father while he's still alive. No, your father will be proud that you changed the paradigm while he was still alive.
That is the same type of reasoning that keeps Black people in the church tithe and eating chitlins, because someone who loved them and who they love gave them that. And instead of them taking a step back and saying, I am not going to eat the bag of poop, that the bag that used to hold pig poop, even though my great grandmother or whatever did, I'm gonna do something different. That's an example of cognitive dissonance, when we don't do what we know makes sense just beyond the surface of our minds. You're not supposed to be eating no poop bag.
That's a symbolic thought. That's why they need to read these books.
Right.
That's symbolic thought. You got listen, racism. Even Einstein said racism was a sickness, a disease. I don't like you because your beard is white. That's crazy. I don't like you because you're Black. I don't like you because you got nappy hair. That's symbolic thought. It has no sound reasoning to it. No logic.
None.
Also, racism, religion, it's a belief system. And when you're in those systems, I got some words I want to tell you. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
It's a hope system, Baba. It's a hope. Because they hope that in the end, everything that they've been saying and doing is somehow going to reap them some spiritual benefits. So I want to bring this Tuesday.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, y'all.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. You shouldn't be drinking Kool-Aid anyway, because it has too much sugar. But anyway, I want to ask a couple more questions. I have to shout out Angela Resters, George Foreman, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He got so many.
Can a person be divine and not spiritual?
Yes.
And I want to say yes. Because let me say this here. We are all divine. You heard this expression? We are divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience. So to be spiritual is to tap into your divinity.
That's right. It's there.
Even a fool is divine. He just don't know it.
Period.
The guy who's in prison doing 99 years, who they killed 80 people, stole everything he could come, he's still divine. He just didn't recognize his divinity and chose not to go that route. Okay, so all of us are born, a baby is born divine. No baby is born in sin. That's the craziest thing I ever said. This beautiful baby coming out is in a divine state.
That's right.
Now, you can teach it to become spiritual, or you can teach it to be a fool. Let me say, most racism is taught by parents. When you see those racists bigots down south, it was done by parents. Let me just do, Seshat, just take 2 minutes to do a little folktale, right? There's a folktale that was taught to me. And I'm showing you how bigot racism is and how it operates. So in this folktale, there's a white family, and they're in Mississippi. And the white family is a Klan family, right? But the little boy don't know anything about the Klan, really. The little boy is about 5 years old, and he's watching his mother make a chocolate cake. And the mother's whipping up the chocolate cake, and she got the chocolate icing over to the side. And the little white boy grabs the chocolate and puts it all over his face and said, "Look, Ma, I'm black." And she smacks him across the face and said, "Go in there and show that to your father." So he don't even know what's going on, right? So he walks into the living room and he shows his father and said, "Look, Dad, I'm black." And the father takes him and bam, bam, hits him and turns him over and smacks his behind and said, "Go out there and to your grandfather and show him and let him see that." So now the boy's all, well, he didn't get 2 whoopings already. And all he did was show the chocolate on his face. So he goes out to his grandfather and he says, "Granddad, look, I'm black. Look, I got chocolate." And the grandfather said, "Give me that switch over there." Bam, bam, bam. And started beating him with the switch. Tell me you'll never do this again. He said, "I'll never do it again." And he goes back in the house, right? And the mother said, "Did you learn your lesson?" She said, "Yes. I only been black for 5 minutes, and I hate all you white MFs already." So it just shows you. The little boy said, "I've been black for 5 minutes, and I hate all you." Okay? So it's just letting you know it's a taught, it's a learned behavior. And we got to get out of it. We got to get out of it. We got to start using symptomatic thought. You need to know why. You notice kids always saying, "Why? Why? Why?" They say why so much, you get mad at them. Don't ask me why no more. No, let them keep doing that.
That's
what
right.
Is we become adults and we stop saying why.
That's right.
No one is born in sin. Everybody's born divine. But everybody is not spiritual. Spirituality is when you tap into your divinity, when you tap into nature, when you tap into the divinity. So everybody, you don't have to be taught to be divine, but you have to be taught to be spiritual, or at least see spirituality so that you can tap into your divinity.
Can somebody... we're getting all these great questions. AJ Hodge said, "Can somebody have knowledge of self and not know ancient history?"
And not know consciously? Okay, let me say this here. Is that person of African ancestry?
I'm assuming.
Right. If that person is of their DNA and they're of African ancestry, then they can have a lot of knowledge and still not know their history and culture. Because let me explain something, and I really appreciate this question. Knowledge is just a collection of facts. You can have a collection of facts and still be a fool. Wisdom is the correct use of knowledge. So a person, you can have your PhD and you still got blinders. Look at Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court.
I'd rather not.
He got a lot of knowledge, but he's a fool. Look at Herschel Walker, the Heisman Trophy winner in Georgia. He's a fool. Look at the guy who Trump put as the head of HUD, who was the open heart surgeon. He's a fool. But he's a brilliant surgeon. So he got a lot of knowledge. He can teach you how to save a life, but he ain't got no common sense. And he definitely don't know his history. I heard the man
Carson.
say in a press conference that the pyramids was built by the Jews as for a corn asylum to store corn. And he actually said that in a press conference. And you're running for president of the United States? He's a see. So to answer this person's questions, you can have a lot of knowledge and still be a fool and yet not know your history and culture, because your knowledge base is programmed in a paradigm. So you know more about European history than you know about your history, but you got knowledge. You can be a mathematician and still be a fool. You don't know nothing about your history and culture, but you're a brilliant mathematician.
Right, right.
So you got a collection of knowledge, but you don't have knowledge of self. You have been programmed in a sphere. So let me just make that distinction, y'all. Having a lot of knowledge is not the key. The key is wisdom, how to use what you do know and have knowledge and history of culture of yourself. And one more story, Seshat. When I was in high school, we had an undefeated wrestling team, J.P. Stevens High School in Edison, New Jersey. We had this undefeated, my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, 4 years, undefeated, never lost a match. I was Mr. Technician. I had all these moves that I wanted to do on everybody. We had a guy on the team named Peanut. Peanut only knew like 3 moves. Peanut, he grabs you, single leg takedown, put you in a single wing, pin. That's it. And everybody knew what Peanut was going to do. And you couldn't do nothing about it. He was pinning everybody. Same move, single leg. Full half Nelson, single wing, bam, pin. I had all these moves. I'm struggling each, all my 100 moves, So it's not how much you know, it's what you do with what you know. So I learned that from just that, It was good that I knew all these moves and it looked all fancy and everything. And people say, oh man, look at the Mfundishi, And meanwhile, Peanut just went out there, grabbed the guy, bam, 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 match over.
Peanut.
Okay. So it's not how much you know. Peanut didn't have a whole lot of knowledge of the wrestling arena, but he was a master technician of what he knew. Peanut understood wisdom, how to use what you know. So people, it's not how much you know. That's why the majority of millionaires in the world never graduated or even went to college. They got an idea, a collection of knowledge, and then they learned how to make it work. They were the peanuts in life. They got something and they made it work. They took one pair of pants, turned them to hammer pants, and become a millionaire selling hammer pants. Somebody else, a shoe, a sneaker with their name on it, ran with it, multi-millionaire. You take an idea and how do I use it to benefit me and everybody around me? Wisdom.
So people are asking. Tone said Peanut understood the assignment. I can't. Peanut understood the assignment. So I see some questions. One question is Isfet a divine part of spirituality? Ancient practices in Kemet performed enemas. I think what we can do, because like those questions are pretty big questions, and I do want to kind of wind Tuesday talk down. I mean, we can bring Baba back because I would like to have him back, and maybe we can go deeper into some of the spirituality of some of the different Netru and really kind of understand what is spirit. Yes. What is the difference between the Ka and the Ba? What is Isfet? All of, so is Isfet a divine part of spirituality? That's a really good question, but I don't think we have time to do it justice tonight. I can speak with Baba. We can bring him back. Don't tell him, but I can have Baba back, and we can go over some of the major Netru. I think that would really bring that would give us some knowledge, and then we can use it in a very wise way.
Right. So if I can, chapter 4 in my book, Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. The whole chapter is dedicated to spirit, and then chapter 5 is dedicated to spirituality. People think they have spirituality and don't even know what spirit is. Okay, so if I just make a quick if I just read here, spirit is the living mind, the nature, which is all, and all is part of the mind, and the whole cosmic universe is mental. A divine creation of the nature. The word spirit means real essence or the living mind. Remember I said you are your consciousness. You're not your body. You're your consciousness. When the body dies, the consciousness continues to live. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed from one state to another.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit is the energy of nature. So your consciousness, this goes back to that other question, your consciousness is part of the nature, divinity, for some people call God. So I know in the Western world, people get upset when people say, I'm God, or I'm God-like, they think that's blasphemy or something. No, in the Kemetic word, we are aspects of the Creator. That's why I say everybody is divine, but everybody's not spiritual because everybody doesn't recognize their divinity. So, being spiritual is using your divinity in your life. Only the nature can direct the spirit of the divine creation, manifesting itself in many forms. Someone told a farmer once and said, oh man, you got a green thumb. You can grow anything. The farmer said, no, I don't grow nothing. He says, I create the conditions.
That's right.
For growth, and the nature makes it grow. Do you know the difference? So the farmer didn't grow nothing. He created an atmosphere conducive for that. So mothers and fathers, parents, your home is supposed to be like that. You got to create the conditions for a divine spirit to grow in your child. So an educational system, the number one component of education is the parent. The school is secondary. Taking them on the trips, that's your parents. Exposing them, that's the parents. School is secondary. Don't relinquish that to them and then you do nothing. You are the primary source of education. So that you understand the spirit. So spirit is the essence of all things. And because spirit is the living link to the nature, all things are spirit, all things are alive and connected. That's why you can move objects with your mind, kinetic energy, because you and the object are what? Connected. And that invisible force field, remember we said spirituality, so the spirit can't be seen, can't be touched and felt, but you can see its end results. So I'm looking at the object with my mind and I move it. Technically, science can't explain that. Metaphysics can explain it because they realize there is some energy that you can't see, but we see its results. Like a magnet. You can't see the magnetic pull, but you can see the results of it. Spirit is the same way. Okay, so creation is a continuation of the divine will, which is the consciousness of nature expressing itself outward and inward through all things. If you were looking at a magnetic electrical microscope, microscope, and you can look to the smallest entity that they can possibly see, a quark. When I look at the object, Seshat, I see it. It appears and then it vanishes. It appears and then it vanishes. When you look at it, when I see it, it's there. When you look at it, it might not be there. And it appears and vanishes according to you. So that means that divine creator sees itself through you, through your eyes. You have an effect on all things.
All
I know
things.
people think they're not, they don't think they're that powerful. You affect something. You affect everything around you. You are a nature-like creature. So your energy, if you were to take a Geiger counter, for example, and put it in front of your body, it would go, you put it near the eye, the eye gives off more energy. Have you ever felt somebody staring at you?
Yes.
So what are you really feeling? You're feeling an energy force. So somebody's staring, and you can feel it clean across the room, right? And then you turn around and the person goes, like they weren't
Or they
even
keep
looking,
staring at you. Or they keep staring at you.
or keep staring at you. Yeah, that's when they just don't care, right? Okay. Right. But a lot of times they try to play it off, So what is your spirit saying? Your spirit soul, the ka, remember we talked about the spirit is broken into 9 parts. The ka part of your spirit says danger. Danger. Because ain't nobody supposed to be staring at you intensely like that for a long period of time. You notice if you're looking at a deer through a telescope, through the scope of your rifle, and that the deer could be 50 meters away. When that scope hits that deer, the deer, look, and he's jetting because he can feel that somebody's on him. That's a feeling. So it's the same thing with the human. So I'm trying to show you there's this energy you can't see that's all around us. So I'm trying to show you aspects of spirit, this thing that you can't see, but you can feel it. You felt somebody staring at you. It penetrated your aura.
Yep.
And you felt it just like somebody touched you. So in deep meditation, if you can do that, some people who are a little bit more sensitive, a little more tuned in, can feel the pain and the joy of the universe. Okay, so I'm just trying to say, so spirit is this energy. So now, how do you use spirit? Is another thing. Spirit lives on many levels. There are spirits that we can see, and there are those that we cannot see. There are spirits we can feel and comprehend, as well as spirits beyond our comprehension. There are ancestor spirits, nature spirits, animal spirits, guardian spirits, clan spirits. Those are just like you have karma. You can have ancestral karma. You can have family karma that has nothing to do with you. You were born with the karma of your mother and father. Some priests in ancient world didn't have children because they didn't want to create more karma. Because now when you have children, you got your karma and you got your children's karma. They affect you. Okay. So some people understood that. And so you had some monks and some priests. It was beyond celibacy and all that. They had to do that. They didn't want to create karma. They realized that you have to you had to settle your bill at the end of the day. Okay. So that's why people say when you pay attention to something, you buy it. Listen to the play on words. You paid attention. You pay attention to negative things, you bought it. So that negative thing is yours now. You just paid for it. If you keep saying something over and over, giving it that much attention, you just bought it. So that's why positive affirmations are so good. And that's why they say never speak about things you don't want. So don't be talking about how broke you are, or you're going to stay broke. Even if you ain't got no money, don't acknowledge you ain't got no money. Say my funds is coming in. Don't have that disease. There's a disease going around called my funds is low. You don't want the my funds is low disease, okay? So don't
when you say stuff like that, that's almost like not a chant, but a spell. It's almost like you're creating the space and environment for it to live in that space.
Right.
Like, why do we do that?
I hear people, they always cussing and using foul words. That's vibrating in your water. Mm-hmm. Water holds more memory than any compound molecule on the planet Earth. So I hope that people are listening. Yeah, when you do mantras and stuff like that, you're programming your water.
That's right.
And you're putting positive energy. There's a author. I have the book here. It's called the Art of Water. It's by a guy named Moto. And what he did is he took water and he spoke into it, and he would say things like love, peace, calm, and the water would form perfect little crystals like snowflakes. Then he would say stuff like, you fool, you idiot, you imbecile, and the water would form deformed crystals or wouldn't form a crystal at all. So, and it didn't matter what language you use because the intent.
Right. The energy.
So you can say love in Mdu Ntr. You can say love in Swahili, Pinda. You can say love in English, no matter what language. And this Ntr understands all languages because it's a vibration, it's communication. So the water understands all languages. It understands the intent. And so when you are speaking, your body, like the earth is 70% water, your body is 70% water. So positive self-talk is even more important than your outer talk. Some people treat themselves so bad. Oh, I'm having a bad hair day. Don't talk to yourself like that in the mirror. You're in the mirror. Oh, I just can't get it together. No, don't ever say that to yourself.
Right.
You bump yourself in the chair. You go, oh, I'm so clumsy. And then you know what your body says? Oh, wait till you get to the steps if you think that's clumsy.
Right. Right.
Okay. So you speak what you want. You're speaking into your water. You're speaking into the spirit. You're the spirit of the water. So now we're on this word spirit. You understand? You're speaking to the spirit of water and you're programming your water. I can remember my first wife, the first date we went on. So we're in the restaurant. So the guy brings the water out, right? So I take my Ankh and I put it over the water and I go, Amindra Nasut Nature Atindra Nebanank. Mdu Ntr. So she looks at me like I got three heads, right? And she goes, I don't know what you just did, but do it to my water too. Okay. So I'm praying to you, pray over your food, don't you? So why don't you pray over your water, the most valuable molecule that you can put in your body? I know people saying, boy, Mfundishi's bugging out. No, I'm trying to show you as a spiritual, as a spiritual healer, water is, you got to have your communication with your water. You have a communication with your food. I was 17 years old before I ever ate in a restaurant. Because my parents believed that people who prepare your food should be people who love you. And intent of love in your food. So I was in the 12th grade, still bringing my lunch to school that my mother made that night or was made for me,
You know what, Baba? When I was in elementary school, my mom did not want me to share my food. Don't eat anybody else's food. Don't throw anything away. Like if I ate an apple, half of it, put it back in the lunchbox because she wanted to know exactly what I was eating. How much of my food did you eat? Don't eat anybody else's food. Don't throw anything away. Come back. And part of that is because she just wanted to make sure that I was eating what she was cooking for me. But also there's the intent that the other person has when they are cooking or preparing your food. We're not even talking about who's hot, cleanliness or anything like that. It's
right.
the
You're walking some kitchens in a restaurant and it's a horror story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you're eating that. Or the cook is mad today. His life just left him and he's just slapping stuff together and you're eating all of that. And the animal was traumatized. So that poison and stuff, that traumatization is in the meat. And then you eat the meat. And I don't care if you prayed over or not, you still got the trauma. What's the difference between kosher, halal, and regular meat?
From my understanding, it's the way that the animal is raised and the way the animal is slaughtered.
Right. So in kosher and in halal, the animal is supposed to be raised in a humane environment and fed good food, not slop. Right. And this is the most important part. the Jewish rabbi prayed over it.
Right, and I forgot that part. Prayer,
and or the Arabic or the Muslim imam prayed over it. That makes it halal, kosher. The Jewish rabbi prayed over it. It was raised in a humane way, but it's still the same meat. But they feel that it's so much better because of the energy that was in the meat. The animal wasn't traumatized, busting the head, hit with a sledgehammer, tranquilized, you know, kept in a horror situation, and then now you're eating it, so you're eating the horror. You know, so I just want people, come on, you can't beat a plant up. The greens is going to be greens. They're in a divine state. You just wash it, you eat the greens, you know, okay? So you can't traumatize the green, okay? So the vegetables, I think it's pretty hard to traumatize the vegetables, okay? And fruit. And so you're eating the love of nature. So I know we're not going into food, but I'm just trying to show people you speak what you want. And you can talk things into existence. So watch how you speak to your water. So when you're praying to your own water. You're praying to the divinity within yourself. Remember, you are a divine spiritual being having a divine human experience. You are so powerful. You can't even imagine how powerful. And the Western world spends zillions of dollars every year to make sure you don't know how powerful you are. Say that again. So that you don't know who you are. There's a picture or a video of an elephant in a zoo. And the elephant has been beaten and traumatized. So not to escape. So they wrap a piece of string around his leg and attach it to a plastic chair. And the elephant can't move because he thinks he's bound. That's what's happened to our mind. The elephant can go anytime he wants and can't nothing stop him. He's the most powerful land creature on the planet. We are the most divine, powerful people on the planet, but we're still enslaved because we don't know how much power we have. For all intents and purposes, the resilience of African people by itself is one of the most powerful entities on the planet. No other group on the planet could go through the trauma that African people have went through and still smile, laugh, and be outstanding. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's a fact. That's a fact. Traumatized, beaten, and all those things, and still be the best. Everything. We have no clue on who we really are. Mm-hmm. So somebody put the act of killing the animal. Yes, you busting the animal in the head. That traumatization goes all through his body, and then you eat that. Let me explain something. When an animal is killed, a hormone, an enzyme, is released in the body, and it's skirted throughout the whole blood. The whole nervous system in the blood stream, the trauma, boom, goes through every cell in the body of the animal. So if that animal is traumatized, every cell in the body of that animal houses that trauma. When you eat it, you eat the trauma. Now I know people haven't been, hasn't been taught that way and everything, but it's just like every cell in your body understands the love when you talk about it. Mm-hmm. Every cell in your body is reacting to that. When you are traumatized, every cell in your body is reacting to that. And if it's reacting to that over the same way over a long period of time, you begin to see it. You see people, they get 50 years old, and you see the dark lines under their face. You see their face twisted to the side or something like that, because that's the way they're thinking. They got a nasty attitude. By the time they're 50 or 60, the nasty attitude is on their face. Mm-hmm. There's no way they get into their 70s and still look. I know my older brother, when he went to his 50th anniversary, his high school anniversary, he said he couldn't recognize none of the white people. Let me tell you something. Stop, please. Because he said if they didn't have that little picture from when they graduated on the, on their, he wouldn't know who they were. But everybody knew who he was. He just looked like an older version of himself. You know, no wrinkles, no nothing. He just looked like an older version, you know, gray hair. And he shaved, so you didn't even see the gray hair. So he just looked like an older version of himself, you know. So most people, when they went to their 50th anniversary, were about 70, you know, in the late 60s. And he said he could not recognize 90% of the white people.
When I go back to my school, there are some people I just have no idea who they are, and they're all like, "Hi," I'm like, "Hi," and they definitely recognize me. One of the reasons is because I maintained my freshman year in college. I gained 5 pounds the first semester, and I had a conversation with myself. Are we gaining the whole freshman 15? What we doing? What we about to do? We gonna gain all this weight or not? And I said to myself, I will keep the extra 5 pounds, but no more. And I maintained my weight from 18, just turned 18, to about 6 years ago, when I had all the, you know, my aunt died and father died and stuff like that. And now, but now I'm back down to the weight that I was my freshman year in college, because it's a choice. So part of the reason that people look the same or look around is because you maintain your same body weight. And it's really important to have a healthy body weight and to be honest about that with yourself, because your joints aren't supposed to hold all this weight. You don't want to have a whole lot of cholesterol in your body. I mean, it's whatever you're doing, you're already in a cycle of doing it. If you get into a healthy cycle, then you're in a healthy cycle. And it's just as easy to maintain a healthy cycle as it is to maintain a healthy an unhealthy cycle. It's a little bit, you have to put a little bit more thought into a healthy cycle. But let me tell you something. When you walk by a Popeyes, I don't want to eat that. When you see soda and whatever, I ain't trying to eat that, because I'm in a healthy cycle, and it's easier to get into.
It's about that thinking. It's about how you think. I was at a banquet one time, and the guy knew me, right? So he comes up, he goes, "Oh man, Mfundishi." He said, "Oh man, I'm really into you, man. I got all your tapes, your DVDs. I go tonight listening to you, man." He says, "Listen, I'm gonna hook you up, man. I'm gonna give you a whole crate of soda." I said, "No, man, I don't want no soda." He said, "No, it's free. It's free." I said, "Brother, I don't want to." He said, "You don't understand, Mfundishi. I'm trying to hook you up, bro. You know, it's free Pepsi." You know, I'm like, "Bro, I don't drink Pepsi. I don't give Pepsi to my family. So free poison don't mean anything."
I don't want free poison.
Now, the average person would have just took the soda and drank it, knowing it's poison. So people, whether it's free or not, if somebody paying you to drink it, you don't drink it. So you got to have some principles.
That's right.
You know, somebody like, "Oh man, I'm hooking you up." No, you're not hooking me up. You're trying to kill me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your intent is good, but the reality of your intent is not good, because you were operating in ignorance. So I didn't blame him. The brother was really trying to help me. He said, "I'm hooking you up." I'm like, "No, bro, you trying to kill me." You know, and then he's telling me to bring it to my family. No, that's all right, bro.
And that's akin to eating chitlins. I swear I'm going back to the chitlins. When somebody who loves you prepares this plate of chitlins, you love this person and they love you, but what they're giving you is something that you shouldn't be taking. And listen, people, it's 2022, and we have to be honest with ourselves about what it is that we need to do to change, and we have to be honest about what it is that we can do to help our people change. And honestly, we have to get rid of political correctness. And I'm going to tell you why. Because political correctness has gotten to the point where it is just nonsense. If you, again, can't poop, sleep, or have an erection, you're doing something wrong. If you have excess body weight to the point that your joints hurt, it's because your joints are not designed to hold that weight. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that it you're awful. It just means you have to have an honest conversation with yourself to make some changes. Kind of like what we were saying before about being responsible for our own choices.
Somebody in the chat put, "That's why meat eaters are more susceptible to fear." Yes, we are ruled in this society by fear.
Yeah.
Fear is society. You know, when you see the police, You're not thinking that that's somebody coming to help you. You're in fear because you know what they do. I know, even as a spiritual warrior, if I'm driving down the highway and I see a police siren behind me, for a second, I think that, oh man, they're coming to get me. I wonder, do I have my license with me? All that rushes through my head. The average white person don't think that. You know, so we're being ruled and conditioned by fear, and they're programming you into food. And let me say this: whenever the government gives you free food, that's food that's going to send you to the hospital. That's food that's going to give you diabetes. So you got the free cheese, the free white bread, the free, all of that is going to put you in the hospital. That's part of the whole cycle. So I know y'all love the free food, but almost none of the free food is good. Almost all the free food is GMO or processed. So I want you to think about that. They're not giving you no free cabbage or no free collard greens. Okay, all the food they give you is GMO, or it's just pumped with fear.
It's bad for you, pumped with hormones and chemicals.
When the doctor asks, what is your family history? The only reason why they ask that, because if you're doing the same thing your family's doing, then you're going to have the same disease.
Right.
Almost all my family members, elders, have sugar diabetes. My mother, she died at 90 something, but she died of complications of sugar diabetes. Okay. But my aunts and all of them, uncles, all of them, sugar diabetes. My favorite cousin, sugar diabetes. He had amputee. He got his foot amputated, then his leg amputated. He just wouldn't, just the sugar. He just couldn't help it. Okay. So now I know if I eat like that, the same thing is going to happen to me. So I'm very cognitive of what I eat. Okay. And it's so I don't have the same history that people in my family. It's only hereditary because you do the same thing.
Right. It's a choice. It's a family choice.
So you have the choice to change. You want to become a vegan, you ain't going to be the same thing that your diabetes like your mom's had or your pops had or your cousin had. You have a whole different thinking process, a whole different dietary, and you're not going to be ruled by fear.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You're going to be ruled by love. Yes. So people, pray on your water, pray on anything you drink, anything that you consume into the body, put a spell on it. You hear what I'm saying? You put a spell on it. You speak to it. That's a spell. A positive spell too.
Positive spell. Yes, yes. So thank you so much, Baba Mfundishi. We learned a whole lot, and people are asking lots of questions, spiritual based questions. And when we get off the live, just hang back so that I can get all the information. I'm going to update the flyer tonight, you guys. So wherever you saw the flyer, most likely on the Shrine of Ma'at Facebook page, then that's going to be where I'm going to put all of Baba Mfundishi's information, which whenever you're in New York City, come through. He's on 125th, and it's definitely worth it. And also his classes, his online classes, his daughter's class, definitely worth it. Baba, thank you so much. I really
let me just tell them what classes we have before we go. Okay, so we do have Mdu Ntr class, beginner, intermediate, and intermediate classes on the website. You'll also in the spring be able to take master class under me. We have Kemetic yoga. We call Ma'at Akuba Ankh. We teach that on Saturdays and Sundays in the shrine. So I'm also the artistic director of the Black Culture Museum called the Genesis Black International Culture Museum. It's 504 West 126th Street, right off of Amsterdam Avenue. So it's a culture museum. We give a program. The next program we give in the museum is December 18th. That's not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, from 12 to 4. So you can come. I'm there at the museum every Sunday and Monday, but we also do tours by appointment. So you can come in anytime during the day. You just call, and we take you through a tour. It's basically a Kemetic museum that's on Black history and culture. but the idea is pushing culture. So Kemet is the foundation and the main thing. And then we have other artifacts from West Africa and stuff like that showing this semblance. Um, and by the 18th, we have a fantastic gift shop. So almost everything you buy from me on 125th Street, you'll be able to buy inside of the Cultural Museum. We offer crystal classes there twice a month. There's a crystal class. We have a herbology class. The herbology class is online. So that's Mfundishi Jhutyms online. So herbology, all those things I say, you need to understand the spirit world. So I teach the spiritual classes. And every time we have one of these programs, I do a spiritual connection. People can become initiates of the Shrine of Jehuti Haru Nebhu. We initiate and create Kemetic priests, healers, divine healers, who are teaching Mdu Ntr, teaching herbology, teaching crystallology. So those are some of the three major, like each shrine might have specialties that they do. So we do crystallology, herbology, and the Mdu Ntr, and Kupagani and Gumi, or ancient Egyptian yoga and meditation. So those are the things that that we teach in our shrine, and we can certify you as a teacher so that you can do that. Like I said, my students now are actually teaching the class that can teach outside. We also added Swahili, Brother Wajedi. We learned some Swahili, so we introduced Swahili into that. And Swahili is one of the most widely spoken African languages on the African continent. Mm-hmm. So all those classes, we teach it online, and then some of them we teach in the Genesis Black Culture Museum. Okay. And again, that's here in Harlem. Hopefully everybody who hears my voice will come by. We do a Kwanzaa program on the first day of Kwanzaa, December 26th, at the Black Culture Museum. And we do the 31st, next to the last day of Kwanzaa. We hold a feast, and we hold a Kwanzaa program again. 504 West 126th Street off of Amsterdam Avenue. So the Black African Culture Museum. So I'm the director of history and culture. And we teach all those classes there. So you can come in, be inspired, get a tour, and be tapped in. Bring your children. Don't come by yourself. Bring your children and let them see what our ancestors have done.
Mm-hmm. Gaston Brian, this is going to be our last question.
An initiate if you live out of state. Yes, you can become an initiate if you live out of state. You can, because almost everything is virtual now. So when we have our initiate meetings, we have some people who are there physically, but it's also live stream. So, so you can be in Timbuktu, you can be on the African continent, you can be in Europe, you can be in any of the places in America and still go through our Kemetic initiation.
So this is our absolute last question, and then everybody who wants to know which classes are online and which ones are in person, I'm gonna give you all that information. I'm gonna give you everything he said. I'm gonna give you that tonight, so you'll be able to click on all the links and visit the websites and stuff like that. Okay,
and
so I'm not ignoring
the prayers that I'm using are in my book. Somebody asked or some of the prayers in my book. I have positive affirmations and prayers in the book Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. And my latest novel, one of my latest novels, Menchu Hotep and the Spirit of the Magi, I got a lot of Mdu Ntr in here. I got prayers that's in the Mdu Ntr in here, not in the written language, but spoken. Like I'll say, Amen Ra Nasut Ntr, okay, and things of that nature. So they're in here as well as in my other book.
Okay. All right. So, wow, we got a whole lot. Thank you, Baba Mfundishi. We'll definitely have
it was my pleasure, my sister.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it was my pleasure too. And again, just swing on back in a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes or whatever, and I'm going to have the update for you. We will definitely have Mfundishi back, and we can go deeper into the Neturu, the spirits, the Kas and the Bas. I think that's kind of what the people were asking, because that's what people were asking for. So anyway, so I just want to say thank you again. I want to thank you for the donation that I got and some of the followers that I got on Instagram. I appreciate that. I will return any questions that you guys have. If you have any questions for me or suggestions for Tuesday Talk guests or anything of that nature, you can DM me on Instagram at Yoga Girl Sai. Please follow me there. I get my questions. It's easier for me to answer them from there. Okay. So yes, all of these y'all are on and popping in the chat today, boy. I'm trying to close. Y'all still typing like we at the club. I need to turn the lights on and just flash them back and forth a couple times. Anyway, so once again, thank you, Baba. Thank you for everybody's here. Baba, just hang back after we end the live, and I will see you all next Tuesday. Shemema'at, Shememetep, and Ankh Uja Seneb.
Mdu Ntr.